Welcome, everybody, to the Bangers and Classics podcast with me, James Ruppert, and him, David Malloy. David, what have you been up to?
Oh, various things, James. I've
Yep.
been working on the new book. Well, this week's also been a week for cars. The Jeep needs a new clutch, and I had to get the other car serviced and MOT'd. Well, let's just say it wasn't cheap. And I saw the EV, that other money pit that we've got as well.
Yeah.
Which is coming along very, very nicely indeed. I look forward to sharing some pictures of that when it's under its own power in the spring.
Excellent. Well, I think, David, if we weren't spending futile amounts of money on things, we would be letting our listeners down. I think it's all part of the it's all part of the fun of having objects around. So
Absolutely. Send money in so we can spend some more.
absolutely, please do. Yeah, that'd be really good, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. Before we turn over the airwaves to you and your dulcet tones,
All right.
I was going to talk about car spots. Again,
Yeah.
I've drawn pretty much a blank this week. An interesting car did pass me on the motorway, or the Joe Carriageway rather, yesterday. It was a Morgan, but unfortunately it was a late model Morgan. It was a 2019 one.
Right.
Still looked very nice and very interesting. And that's it. I've not seen anything else of note. All the classic cars have been shoved away for the winter up here.
I think you might be right on that front, David, because I mean, it's only been me, spreading the joy really by taking my cars out and letting people see them because I haven't seen very much at all. I did see quite a nice Golf GTI, which was working very hard for a living. It was a G plate, it was a 4-door, it was an 8-valve. It had a child seat in the back, had a tow bar. Had a determined looking mid-30s woman driving it, and so it's obviously a used car, lots of stickers on it as well. Unfortunately not a Bangers and Classic sticker, but it would have been improved no end by that. But apart from that, no, I haven't seen very much at all. And actually the lorry, despite having a battery that was brand new in January, battery is really struggling. I've not been able to start it, and then I used my starter pack thing, and it started, and so I moved it. But it's been on charge for good 24 hours, but it's not up to speed. So I think I'm going to have to find the company I bought it from and post it back to them or something. So that's not very good. It's basically the worst battery I've ever had because usually batteries last me 5 to 7 years, even in the lorry.
Any news this week, Mr. Lifford?
What we should mention is coming up on the 26th of this month is the annual Hi Kenny's Car of the Year. I was going to say Car of the Year show, but it's the Car of the Year competition show, which is a friend of the show, Kenny. Does sterling work where he goes to shows that most people don't go to because they're near to him. They're in the north of this great country, and he goes to and he sees some fantastic cars. But if you don't follow Kenny, he's Hi Kenny's on Twitter. He's worth doing because basically they're the funniest tweets going. He's much funnier than anything David or I sort of tweet. But you get a picture at a car show and an amusing comment about a car. But what Kenny does at the end of the year, he's been doing it for quite a few years now, is he puts together a top 10, and you can vote for them on the Twitface app. And if you retweet it, it's 2 points, and if you like it, it's a point. And you end up with a winner after 2 days. So I think that's Friday. Is that Friday after next?
2 weeks time. 2 weeks.
Yeah. So we'd like to give you we'd like to give you plenty of notice because when we do these podcasts, it's sort of somewhere in the middle of that. So if we did it on the day, it wouldn't be correct. We'd be talking to ourselves about it. But this is worth your time and effort. It's something that David and I should do if we cared, really. But Kenny goes to a lot of time and expense and puts it all together, and it's worth participating because he finds some cars which you just don't see. I think there's certain cars on the circuit in certain areas which you'll see all the time, whereas he sees quite unusual stuff. And so it's good to vote for your favourite, and it's always interesting to see which car turns out to be the most popular.
Yeah, absolutely. So just a reminder, it is the 26th of November. I said a fortnight. It's a fortnight from the date of recording this.
Yeah.
It'll be 8 days after the date this originally goes live. Definitely mark your diary for that one. Mark it in your calendar.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes, virtual James.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I mean, what I'm always very pleased about is that it is a proper car of the year show because I get very annoyed when they nominate a car of the year or they say this is the car of the year, European car of the year, and nobody could have bought it, nobody could have driven it. I mean, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever because you can only make a car of the year basically after it's about 10 years old, can't you? Because then you know whether it's any good or not.
Yeah,
So basically, I mean, this is essentially the real car of the year.
absolutely. What's this about funny tweets, by the way? I don't send out funny tweets. I sent out a good one yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah, okay, it was maybe the only one I've ever sent out. It was my original draft of the MX-5 buyer's guide that I
Oh
was
right,
commissioned to do many years ago,
yeah.
and it was a single word, don't.
Don't you?
Yeah, I've got to say that because
Yeah.
obviously I have now circulated the cover art
Mm.
for the new book, which was designed by Russell,
Yeah.
and he very cleverly kept it for me that there was an MX-5 on the front cover.
Yeah. Good for him.
But it's very nice. It's
Yeah.
an excellent piece of work. And it's staying there. I did share it with a friend of mine who's got an MX-5, who's been the butt of my jokes for years.
Yeah.
And he is loving it. He is having a great old time laughing at me.
Yeah.
And on that, I think we should take a quick break. You're listening to the Bangers and Classics podcast, presented by James Ruppert, the renowned international man of mystery, and David Malloy, a man who couldn't even get an invitation to his own party. Welcome back after that break, and now we're going to talk about this week's banger or classic that sold very well in the 70s, and in fact did very, very well indeed for a time. It's the Vauxhall Chevette. What are your memories of it, James, and what do you reckon to it as a banger or classic?
Um. Again, it's what we seem to talk a lot about here are completely disappeared cars,
Mm,
and the Chevette is completely disappeared. I mean, it probably would have been 1980 something when probably the last time I saw one. I always rather like the design of them. This sort of shovel front stuff. It looked sort of very 1970s, which was great. And I think it was sort of Detroit influenced from there, wasn't it? I don't think it. I think it was. There was quite a lot of Opel design in that, wasn't there?
yeah, yeah,
Rather than it being designed anywhere near Luton. So it was the shape of things to come. But it was a very good basic little sort of car, wasn't it, to run about in? And of course, there was an exciting one. There was the HSR version which you could get, but and obviously it was also badged as an Opel Kadett, which you used to see from time to time.
yeah,
I think you could actually still buy Opels at that time, so you could actually get yourself
yeah,
a Kadett if you wanted it. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. It had a Viva 1.3 engine, so that was very reliable. But yeah, you just don't see them. Obviously, it was very good because it excelled in rally type scenarios. So
it did, yeah.
yeah, it was a very good little car, which you do not see at all.
No. I mean, it came along in the mid 70s.
Mm,
As you say, James, it had the Viva 1256cc engine, and with the exception of the hot versions, that was your lot. You
yeah,
could have a 1256cc or you could have a 1256cc. The choice was yours.
yeah,
But it did come in a few flavours. You get two
mm,
and four door versions, you had a
yeah,
saloon. There was a van as well, a Chevan, if you remember.
yeah,
That's what they called it, yeah. It was rear wheel drive layout,
mm,
which did impact on the amount of space, particularly in the boot. So against its rivals, and certainly in the continental Europe, like against the 127 or the Renault 5, it didn't really stack up that well. They had more engine options and other goodies like that, but certainly it sold well here. I believe it was the best-selling hatchback in the UK
mm,
for several years. When you think about it, it just goes to show how daft BL were not bringing in a Centi Mini,
yeah,
because the
mm,
Chevette cleaned up for several years, and the Innocenti Mini was, in some ways, a better car, certainly in some ways a more advanced car. But, of course, that was the cooking version of the Chevette. As you mentioned, you had the hot versions, and you had the HS was the 2.3 litre slant 4 engine, which was quite powerful, particularly for its time, and some styling tweaks, usually in silver. I think it was invariably in silver.
yeah,
I say that and say invariably. There was a version called, I believe, the HSX, which was black and had a retrimmed interior. But I've never seen one of those on the road. But they did exist somewhere. Maybe it was a dealer special or something. And
that's right.
then, yeah, later on they brought out the HSR, which had a slightly more powerful engine, I believe, and more aggressive bodywork. which looked terrific. It really did. I mean, it's a really nice looking little car. Very successful in rallying terms at national level. I don't think it really competed much in the World Rally Championship. Perhaps the odd event, but against the Escorts and the 131s, it wasn't so successful in world terms. I don't think Vauxhall or Opel made a very serious effort to contest the World Rally Championship, but certainly British Championship level, which attracted the best rally drivers in the world, it has to be said. You get the likes of Mikola and Vatanen and Walter Roll regularly turning up for events. The Chevette did very well indeed, and particularly in the hands of a chap called Pentti Ricola, if you remember him.
Yeah, no, I do remember him.
Yeah, he did eventually win a World Championship rally, but it wasn't in the Chevette. The Chevette, for me, as you say, James, it has gone. I never really liked them that much in the day, if I'm being absolutely honest. It's something about them. I like the hot versions a lot, but I was never so keen on shall we say, the cooking versions. But the hot versions just tip it for me. It's going to have to go into the classic folder rather than the banger folder. What do you reckon?
Well, I do agree with you. At the time, unless they were the fast ones, they weren't of any interest to a young man. But the brand ambassador for Vauxhall at the time was James Hunt. And so that's reason enough. He must have thought they were good. And I always have a picture of him actually on the editorial page of Free Car Mag,
I know.
where he lives, and I'll probably never get rid of him. But yeah, because of that fact as well, and all those reasons you stated, it's a nailed on classic, isn't it?
It has to be. Yeah, James Hunt always appears in Free Car Mag. He also always appears in the Texaco ad as well.
He does.
Yes. Yes. I think you're rather a fan of Mr. Hunt.
Oh, I like Mr. Hunt. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he was of his time, and we miss him greatly because at least he had a personality.
Oh, certainly did, yeah. He gets mentioned in the new book. There's a plug for you.
Does he? Oh, that's good.
There is a question concerning James Hunt, yeah.
Mm.
I'll tell you one thing about him. Latter stage of his life, he had a parrot. James Hunt was a big animal lover, which makes him all right in my eyes.
Good.
Apart from the fact he was a great racing driver, which he was a big animal lover. And one of his collection of animals was a parrot called Humbert. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your viewpoint, Humbert was quite foul-mouthed. And the story goes he got a part in either a play, I think it was a pantomime actually, and he only lasted a day because of his language. James Hunt's parrot got sacked, which is wonderful. But he also had a collection of show budgerigars.
Yes, he did, didn't he?
Yeah, and of course his ever-present German Shepherds. In fact, I think one of his German Shepherds, his first one, was the only dog allowed in Langer's brasserie.
Oh, really?
And the dog was also allowed in the clubhouse of a golf club, and apparently it was allowed in because it behaved better than many of the members. That was a story at the time, yeah. Yes, James Hunt was certainly a character. He goes back to a long line of sort of eccentrics and just wonderful characters that we had in those days, particularly in motor racing. You had obviously Graham Hill, you had Innes Ireland, to name but two. Should we talk about Christmas, because it's getting a bit close, James?
Yeah, it is a bit, isn't it? Yes, that's right. It is that time of year.
Well, perhaps over the next couple of weeks we should talk a little bit about Christmas gifts for people.
Yeah.
Some recommendations. I'm going to kick off with a film. It's from, I think, 1974. It's called The Black Windmill, and it stars Michael Caine. Have you seen it, James?
I think I've seen it a long time ago, but you better remind me of the plot.
Yeah. He is, I believe, an intelligence chap whose son is kidnapped by a mystery group. And the story plays out from there. The real interest in the film, apart from the fact that Michael Caine is, as usual, very good in it, is it's not even about cars, but you will see something that doesn't exist anymore, and it's something that was quite cool. I think Mr. Ruppert might agree with me on this, and that thing is the Ramsgate hoverport.
Goodness me.
Hovercraft, were and are cool. Unfortunately, I never got a lift in that one from the people across the road that I keep going on about. Yep, still rankles. As a film, it's not overly sophisticated. It tells a story, which is all I really want from a film. Just get on with it. It's quite a good story. It's well acted, and there's a lot of period interest in it. So I'd recommend it. You can, in fact, I believe, still buy it on DVD. So there's one to look out for. So that's one recommendation from me. James, what have you got?
Well, strangely enough, because it started the Land Rover, and I'm not being paid to do this, but I did get this free quite a few years
Not
ago.
another. Oh wait.
I did. I got this free, but it was very strange. It was, I think it was the 2019 Auto Car Awards, and everybody who left got a bag. I mean, it's the best bag I've ever got, and I got a Noco Boost XL. It's one of those brick-shaped things which will start your car. And it did start the lorry this week when it otherwise wouldn't have started. So if you don't have one of these, because also you can charge your devices off of it as well, and it's a torch, so it does everything, and it's quite heavy. So if you didn't like the look of someone, you could knock them around the head with it as well. But I would recommend these things. I used to have a tiny one which was meant to start a car, and I never believed it ever would. But this is basically a pocket battery, but you need a large pocket to put it in. But other bricks shaped like this are available, but they're not terribly cheap. But if your significant other is asking you what you want, I think if you had one of these, because with older cars, as you know, David, 99% of the time it's battery problems. Really, you can usually fix most things on older cars or get home with them. But if your battery's a bit flat, that's always a problem, unless you've got a starting handle. And I do have actually a ginormous starting handle for the lorry, which someone told me that they when they did hand crank a Land Rover, they sort of ended up 2 fields away when they mistimed it. It really did throw them a long way away. But yeah, buy one. Yeah, buy one of these self-charging bricks, which are very good. You can even power your laptop off of it and your phone and do silly things like that. But to start your car, it's probably the best thing you can ever carry around with you. So that sort of got me out of a hole this week. That's
So
what I
it's,
would recommend.
so hang on. It's popcorn, model cars, and now charging bricks.
Yeah, but it was a couple of years ago. But everybody got one, David. I wasn't singled out. I mean those are special. But when people stop you in the street and give you things, that's great. I prefer that. But when everybody gets it in the same goodie bag when they leave an event, but I was quite
Yeah.
I was quite surprised they even got it. But
Yeah.
there you go.
Well, people stop me in the street to give me things as well. It's
Do
usually
they?
abuse. Yeah,
Is it?
abuse. Yeah. Anyway, we'll take a break then. We'll continue with the Christmas theme when we come back. This is Bangers and Classics, official podcast of 1985. So we've just been fighting over the last mince pie, and Mr. Whippet, I'm afraid to say, got to it first. So he's scoffing away in the background, as you
Yeah.
can probably hear. He's finished it now. That's it. He's now heading for the vat of mulled wine. But anyway, getting back to Christmas. Everybody loves prints and T-shirts. So I've got a couple of recommendations for you. One is Russell J. Wallace, who designed the cover of a couple of books I've done and more besides. And the other is Marcus T. Ward, who, again, designed a couple of covers for me. They are both extremely good illustrators, very talented people. And I'll put the links to the addresses up on the Bangers and Classic Twitter page. I would recommend both of them. They really do produce some excellent work. And you're bound to find something there that you like. In fact, you'll probably find so much there you like that you'll empty your bank account on it. In which case, I hope to get a cut of the money, lads.
Quite right too.
So, James, talked about prints, etc.
Yeah.
What have you got for us? What else?
Well, strangely enough, David, when it comes to practical things, I've got a Unilight beanie, and the significance of that is actually Kenny sent me that, which was very, 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 very nice of him.
Another freebie?
Well, it could
Another
be,
one?
it could be construed as that, but we do exchange gifts, at certain times of the year. But it was very, very nice of Kenny, because it sort of changed my life a bit. I tell you what, rather than having a torch in your mouth or stuck behind your ear, having one on your hat is fantastic. And I've been doing a tiny bit of rewiring, and it's really, really helped. And plus going outside at night. It's transformed what I do, especially as actually most of my cars, I've got no internal lights in any of them. None of them work. They're all completely dark inside. So it does help. It's almost like having my own puddle light.
Right.
So instead of if you can get a beanie hat with a light, it's a fantastic present. something you could have in your stocking present, along with your tangerine that's wrapped in silver. Yeah, it'd be a nice cheap present. Again, ask someone for it or buy it for yourself. But yeah, thank you very much, Kenny, for that. So yeah, I'm completely fueled by free stuff, David, and and long may that continue.
Yeah, you lucky man, you
All
lucky
right.
man. You. But anyway, there's one thing we haven't mentioned,
Yeah.
James.
What's that?
So books.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I
Goodness me.
mean,
Yeah.
well, people are bound to want to read over
Well,
Christmas
you would hope so, wouldn't you?
or
But
colour in or something.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, I know that yeah, your one is on the way and will be out for Christmas, and it'll be
Mm.
the perfect book to have when everybody wants to start playing games, and
Yeah, it's
people have a
quite a
very good
tricky one.
time.
It's the ultimate classic car quiz too,
Mm,
and it is quite tricky. It's probably a little bit trickier than I perhaps intended to make it, but it is what it is.
yeah.
And your book, Bangonomics Saves the World.
Well, Bang Saves the World. Yeah, I mean, it's a book I keep telling people not to buy because if they've got any of the Bangonomics books, certainly the recent ones, I've in a way just squeezed two together. There is some fresh stuff in there, but it was mainly because in the Bangonomics diet you couldn't see the illustrations very well. So, but now you can, and it's just repeating stuff in a way. But I do feel that we are in desperate times, and I think we do have to remind people. So this is a good book to buy for a relative who maybe is used to having brand new cars, and you're sort of saying to him, "Here's a green paper, a proposal for how to run the rest of your motoring life."
A
So
manifesto, even.
a manifesto. That's an even, but that's the word I was struggling for there, David. And yeah, it's very much that. So yeah, I'm just repeating stuff. It's got a fresh cover and stuff, and it's just meant to repackage the ideas, and it's meant for people who have probably missed out on the earlier ones. So if you've got any old Bangonomics books, you don't need this. But hey, buy it for your uncle or auntie or your daft cousin or something like that.
Yeah, I've got a copy sitting beside me right now.
Have you really?
Yeah, it was free.
Yeah, was it?
Yeah.
How on earth did you get that, David? I mean,
Uh,
goodness me, I'm very, very careful about.
yeah, that's it. Well, don't leave the window unlatched in future. That's all I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah,
Um,
uh,
Definitely buy a book. James and I have done several. I mean, a book's a great present for use for all sorts of things. Once you finish reading it, you can give it to a charity shop, or you can use it to prop up a table leg or something like
exactly.
that.
That's right.
Or, or if it gets really cold this winter, you could even burn it. I mean, did I say burning things? So I'm better not do that.
No.
But yeah, definitely think of buying a book. And if you are in the market for a book, then we can perhaps cover you to some degree with that. So we'll move on from there. We'll come back with some more Christmas suggestions
Mm.
next week. Assuming I can afford to stock up more mince pies because James has just scoffed 6 of them now.
Yeah, they were lovely.
Um, they were lovely too. And about 2 litres of mulled wine, so he's got that down his
Yeah,
gullet as well. It's shocking behaviour, but there we go. We're not doing a challenge this week because we've got sort of different idea, a different spin on it, and that is we're each giving ourselves 10,000 virtual pounds, and James probably's got 20,000 because somebody gave him another 10
yeah,
free of charge. And we're looking for cars. Just find any classic car that catches our eye. No restrictions at all within a certain budget, and that budget is £10,000. So I've got, I think, quite a good one this week. But I want to hear what you've got, James. I
really.
really want. Oh, God, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
yeah. Well, I do actually have a problem spending that amount of money. Strangely enough, but yeah, what I've done is I've gone to Belgium. I didn't realise it was in Belgium until I looked more closely at the advertisement, and it's €5,950. So I
Mm.
think I'm below the 10K ceiling,
Yep.
and it's a Lancia Beta HPE, Volume
Oh,
X even. So
supercharger.
yeah, absolutely. It's done 62,000 miles. And it just looks like a very tidy, honest car. When you look through the pictures, though, it's quite funny because you do find at one point towards the end there is a broom handle holding up the tailgate. So obviously the tailgate won't keep itself open, so they've stuck a broom in there. But apart from that, it's an extremely tidy car. It would be left-hand drive, of course. But to me, it just looked like tremendous value for money if I was going to buy one. Another car. I think that looks like one that I would be quite happy to own.
Yeah, and that is a car that hasn't yet risen in value to its proper level.
No, it hasn't, has it? I mean, I thought that was incredibly cheap, really.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Beta HPE. I like all of the Betas.
Yeah,
They're lovely cars. They did, unfortunately, tend to crumble a little bit,
yeah,
but all cars that era did.
they do.
But if you can get a good one and keep it good, because you can do that nowadays, things have moved on. They're a fantastic thing to have. They're great driving cars, and they're also great to look at, I think.
Yeah,
And with the supercharger, the Volume X, will be able to keep up very, very nicely indeed with most modern traffic.
yeah.
So yeah, that's a good choice, James. I'm not
Thank you
sure.
very much.
Don't know if I can better that one. I've gone in a different direction.
Oh,
I had a look and I came up with a Renault 5 Monaco automatic. Yeah, which looks extremely nice. It's in Durham. You'll find it on the Car and Classic website.
yeah.
It's a Renault 5 Monaco automatic. It's got an MOT to next June. It's got 50,700 miles or thereby. It's a 1.4 engine, leather interior, and it looks in stonking condition.
Yeah.
You'll find that it's not got much of an MOT history because it's been in storage, apparently since 2003 to presumably this year. So 18 years in storage. Seems to have been a lot of work down getting it prepared for the road again. And the seller lists all the things that have been done to it. I mean, if you just think about this, James, when was the last time you saw a Renault 5, let alone one of those?
No, I can't remember, David.
No. It's another car that's vanished from our roads. And they were once so popular. And I'm a big fan of the Renault 5. They're cracking little cars, very practical little cars, good fun to drive. And if you're looking for one, looking for an interesting classic, then there you go. £4,500 will get you that.
Goodness me! So we've both saved quite a lot of money on this one. So we can put that towards another Christmas party, couldn't we?
That's right. Yeah, that's it. We can sort of spec up the mince pies a bit for the next one.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. You've got two cars, each of which is very rare. None of them cost a great deal of money. A lot of cars nowadays, as you know, James, the values have risen to a point where they're no longer affordable by many people. But something like that Beta HPE Volume X that you saw and the Renault 5 Monaco I saw are affordable, and they are cracking little cars in their own right. Treat yourself this Christmas and get one of those. I think on that note, we shall take our leave of this week's podcast. So I'll say thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, see you next week, people.